What's up everybody, Ghost Girl 007 here, and today's video is going to be a Paranormal and Chill. I got here with me my mom, and she's going to tell us some very, very creepy paranormal encounters that she's had in stories. So, without further ado, let's get into the video.
Hello everybody, I'm Pamela. I don't really like to be on video, but I guess I got a deal. Chill and deal?
Yeah, chill and deal.
Guess so. Okay, so I've had quite a bit of experience over the years. So I pretty much put together like a timeline to go over everything so I don't forget anything. And also kind of do it as in sequence as it happened. That way also, hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense to everyone. Alright, so we are originally from Pennsylvania. It looks like I got hair out of this. Look at that. Look at that, everybody. Bad hair day. Okay, so we're from Pennsylvania, so a lot of my experience, you know, happened in that area at the beginning, as well as here. I do believe I am an empath. I feel things, and I also see things. I don't see them like in front of me like all the time. I have many times, and we'll talk about that. Most of my perception comes from dreams. I have individuals that come to me in my dreams. They deliver messages and they tell me things and stuff like that. I can also go in a room. I can feel if there's something there. If there is, I can tell if it's good or negative. I can usually tell if it's a woman or a man. I can also usually tell if it's a child. Children, sometimes I don't always tell if it's a boy or girl, but usually I can. I think that explains quite a bit so far. So we will start, I guess the very first time that I had seen something. It would be in Pennsylvania, of course. I was pretty young. I want to say I was 7, 8 years old, something like that. And we lived in a place called Haggerty's Farm. And there was multiple houses on the land. And we actually lived way back in the back part of it, not up front. You had to travel back this here long, long dirt road. Lots of woods, obviously, lots of fields. And there was a hay silo and a barn there and everything. But when we lived there, I had my own room, and I would like wake up in the middle of the night all the time, and I'd look out in the hallway and I'd see a little boy out in the hallway standing. He was completely white, like powder white from head to toe, but you could tell like his hair, his hairline and stuff like that. His form, his shape, he was very visible in that mannerism, and he had like a white kind of glowishness around him as well. And it was always like in the middle of the night, and I would just wake up and he'd be standing right there. I could always feel like he like tried to deliver a message in my head. He didn't speak out right, and he'd leave a message in my head saying, "I'm not here to hurt you, please don't be scared, I'm a friend," and stuff like that. Now, it's been so long ago, I can't remember like if he had something to say or if he said something to me, so I don't remember that. I do remember like it always lit up the hallway and stuff, and it looked like there was flames out around the bottom of them coming up, and I remember that distinctly. And that's pretty much all I can remember, but it happened so many times as we lived there. And but he never came in my room. I think if he would have came in my room, he knew that I would have really freaked out, so he never came in my room. And I found out later on that it was actually his bedroom that I was in. And then I also found out later on, even though I complained to my parents what was going on, and my mom, she's just like smile and stuff, like, okay. But later on, when I was speaking to my parents, I was talking to them. I guess they didn't really say too much because they didn't want to freak me out or scare me at the time. But later on, when I was an adult and stuff, I spoke to my mom and my dad and stuff about it and what happened and everything. And they said that my dad had kept on going out on the hallway because he thought the hallway is on fire in the middle of the night. And every time he went out there, he said there was nothing there. He didn't see anything. So that was ironically funny. And of course, they don't say anything 2 years later. And then, I guess my next experience would be at my grandparents' house. They lived in Pennsylvania, in an area like Kylertown / Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania. Oh, I forgot to say, Haggerty's farm was in Bellwood, Pennsylvania. Okay, so go fast forward back again to my grandparents. My grandparents' place was a huge property, and the house itself was an old stagecoach place, which was super cool. And of course, I didn't learn this 2 years later. But it was an old stagecoach place and had a living room. It had a frontal area. I'm thinking that's probably maybe where they had like their post office area. And then it had a kitchen that had stairs that go straight up, and it had the kitchen, and then you go through the kitchen to another outer kitchen. And then you could access the attic from out that way as well. So what I think it was in the main kitchen, they cooked everything and all. And the one that my grandparents called the outer kitchen, which they used pretty much for storage, I guess that's where individuals would sit and have their, you know, breakfast, lunch, dinner, etc. And then when you would go upstairs, it had 1, 2, 3, 4. It had 4 bedrooms upstairs. And you go up the stairs and they're like straight up. And then my grandparents' rooms were on the one side. And then when you go up the stairs and you make a right, there's this really long hallway that goes, I'm sorry, my cat's getting up here. I don't want to knock it over. When you get back the hallway, my uncle's bedroom was back there, and also another access to get up into the attic. And when you first go up the steps, there's a room directly right there, and that was our bedrooms that we slept in when we stayed at our grandparents'. Okay, so with that, explaining that part. Also on the property, there was like a smokehouse. There was a saloon. That's where my uncle had all of his private stuff, his motorcycle and stuff like that in there. And then there was a couple adjacent buildings. I'm thinking probably one was like, was it called the blacksmith? Yeah, they were called blacksmiths back then.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's where the blacksmiths was and stuff like that. I know there had one point been a barn there, but I know whenever my grandparents had it, the barn was like tore down or fell down or something. I don't know. So it wasn't there anymore, but it was an area where you could see the barn was. And then when you pass all the group of houses that's right down the front door of the property, and you walk in the back, there's actually a coal mining place back there. They actually mine coal back in that area as well. And you can literally see the tracks from like the coal mining area out around there's like a big field and trees and stuff. There's mountains out there. But around there, to see the tracks where the old trolley or whatever they call them, cars, cool cars, whatever they called them back then, you can see where the tracks were and everything. We were not, I repeat, we were not allowed to go back there. But we're kids. We were adventurous. I did go back though. So anyway, so that kind of explains the property and gives you a little bit of background. Okay, so this place was so super haunted, like ridiculous. And it wasn't just one. There were many spirits on the property, outside as well as inside. Okay, with that being said, I didn't feel spirits a whole lot downstairs when I was little, and I didn't see anything downstairs. Well, the only thing is when you go out to the outer kitchen and up to the attic, and the basement, you can go down to the basement in that area as well, the outer kitchen. Those places, as soon as you start going out to the outer kitchen, you start getting the heebie-jeebies. I didn't really feel a whole lot, like I could tell what the individual was, man, woman, etc., but you know there was something out there watching you. Same with the attic. The attic was so freaking scary. It was almost like the upstairs, and I'll explain that in a second. And then, of course, I never wanted to go down the basement. I've barely ever been down that basement. I think maybe, of course, my grandparents wouldn't let me down there anyway. Maybe a couple of times when I was a child. So, upstairs, in the long hallway, where my uncle bedroom was and stuff in the other part of the attic, there was this man spirit, and he always stood back in the back of the hallway towards the end of the hallway, and he would just stand there with this mean glare staring at you, and I could feel that he was very negative. Okay, and he used to freak us out, like all of us kids knew it. And I found later on that my grandma and my mom, you know, admitted it and confessed and stuff that they felt things, and my grandma says she's seen things there before too as well. But anyways, we were so scared to death. Every time we come up to go to our room or whatever, we would like go to the top of the steps and we'd dart and run straight into the bedroom. And it was like, sometimes you just have to look, like one of those things. And then sometimes I would see him, sometimes I wouldn't. He was dressed as a cowboy. He had a cowboy hat on. He had like cowboy pants. They weren't really jeans, I don't think. I don't think they're anything like that kind of material. Probably just a thick fabric. And then he had a shirt on. I remember seeing a holster, but I never really seen like a gun or anything. And then he had his, sorry, I have an itch. And then he had his cowboy boots and stuff as well. But that's what I pictured and stuff. And I was scared to death. I barely ever went back that hallway. The only time I went back that hallway was a couple times when my uncle had taken me back there. Even his bedroom was so freaking creepy. You could feel it in your bones. And the thing I could think of is that individual was probably, that was his area or something like that. Like maybe he came in or whatever. I'm assuming probably the top of that, either somebody lived there or they maybe rented it out back in the old days. I don't know. I know that obviously they rented out the top of the saloon because it had a whole thing going around the top and stuff. A lot of it, am I going to hit you?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
So I know a lot of it in the saloon area, a lot of it had walls were missing and stuff like that. It was pretty bad shape when I was little. But anyways, back to the main house. So I never spoke to him. I can't remember like having a conversation or him talking to me. It could have happened, but I was so young, I don't remember. But that's pretty much what we experienced in the house. And you could also, when you're there, you know, I don't know how many of you guys have seen or felt things, but you know, if you're kind of empathic, you know when there's more than one person in the area. So when you're up there, even though that's all I seen, the whole house, especially upstairs and in the outer kitchen and stuff, you could feel like such a, it's like so stuffy, like there's a whole bunch of people. Now, you know how you go in a big room, you have a whole bunch of people, and like you feel like your breathing is kind of a little bit harder, and it just feels heavy, I guess would be a good word for it. It just felt so heavy, like you knew that it was more than just him, even though that's the only person that I saw. But you can tell there was a whole bunch of people there inside the house. Okay, so I was little, and we were outside of my grandparents' house, and we were all playing and carrying on, running, you know, back and forth and everything. And it was getting dark, and I didn't want to go in, and Mom and Grandma and all them were like, it's time to go in, we're going in. So I was like, fine. I was so mad. I wanted to stay out and like swing on a swing. My grandparents, on the side back part of the house, they had a swing right there. So I wanted to get on the swing and swing. I wasn't ready to go in. So I thought I was being smart. So I went in the house and everything. When my parents, my grandma wasn't watching, I snuck through the kitchen, the outer kitchen, and went out the back door. And I went back around. I got on the swing and I started swinging, and I thought I was smart. So I was sitting there and stuff, and all of a sudden I heard something literally at my ear in the back of my head. And it was a man's voice, and it was very clear. You could understand every word. Unfortunately, though, today, since it was so long ago, I don't remember what he said, but he scared the bejesus out of me. I mean, I jumped up off the swing, and I started running for the house, and they locked the door on me. So I started freaking out, and I'm pounding on the door crying, Mom, 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 Mommy, Mommy, you know, whatever. And finally, my mom finally came to the door, but when I was running from the swing up to the house, he still was talking in my ear. Actually, it was this side. He was still talking in my ear, running as I was running. Like I could hear him run. I could hear every word very clear what he was saying. Unfortunately, I wish to goodness, maybe if I can go under hypnosis, I can remember what he said. But I don't now. I guess because I blocked it out because it was so scary. So anyways, I'm pounding on the door, screaming, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." And finally, my mom answers the door. And she goes, "What's wrong with you?" I said, I'm scared. And I told her what happened. She starts laughing at me. She goes, "Good, that's what you get for going outside." I was so upset, but I was scared shitless. Needless to say, I never snuck out again. Okay, so one more thing that I can think of when I was on my grandparents' property. They actually for many years had an outhouse. They didn't have running water inside the house. I think there might have been at some point, but it had a lot of piping and stuff that had to happen inside the house to get right up to, I guess, permit style. I don't know. I was little. I can't remember a whole lot. But they had an outhouse out there, like old style outhouse. So it was the worst thing. We always went in groups when we went outside. So we go out there. I went out there with my sister and my mom, my grandparents before, my grandmom, my brothers and us. We'd make them stand outside. A lot of times I make my brother stand outside. And I'll tell you why. And then my sister had to come inside with me. But anyways, so we go inside, and a lot of times you would hear knocking outside the freaking outhouse, all around the outhouse. Scared crap. So we kind of got smart over the years, and every time we go out, we'd have somebody stand outside so it couldn't happen. Well, I mean, I guess it could have happened, but fortunately for us, it did not. So that was good. So I think that's all I can remember at my grandparents'. And again, outside, you could feel like the presence and everything. And you could feel like some of them was some of the miners that was from the, had been there on the property and stuff before in the past. And just like the main house, the saloon was like almost the same. And it was so weird because I don't know if you can think about it or imagine it, but like in the saloon, it almost like always had the atmosphere of like cloudiness, like all around the room. You know when something's like crystal clear and something might be like you take a picture and it's kind of cloudy or whatever. I mean, it's transparent, you see really good. It's just a little bit of a cloudiness to it, a smugginess. That's the way it was in the saloon all the time. It was really weird. But those, and back in the mining area, when we'd sneak back there, that's when you'd feel stuff. And I didn't really see anything, but I felt stuff. I felt good spirits, I felt negative ones, you know, I pretty much, you know, felt them all. So, okay, I think that explains that part. And I kind of went over my perceptions and stuff. I've had my mom, my grandmom, my uncles come to me in my dreams. They tell me different things. My mom comes to me a lot. She's come to me many times, like when I was in a relationship and stuff, and she'd be like, he's lying. He's lying. He's not being honest. She's even told me, literally to the point, just like recently, this one gentleman that I was dating, he lived with me. He says he's going out of town. He's going to Georgia. Okay? And I end up catching him. He was cheating on me with his ex, which he said he hated beyond all means. Of course, don't they all? But anyways, unfortunately though, later on, and he sticks to, he went to Georgia, but I'm like 99% he stayed in town here. But anyways, she came to me later on and she said to my dreams, she goes, he did not go to Georgia. He was not working in Georgia. He was here in town the entire time. And I know for a fact he was. Just because when you put the timeline together, when he said he left and when he got here, unless he's got a super jet in the backyard that a weightlifting company or equipment company could put a jet and afford one, it's almost virtually impossible. So anyways, let's get off of that. So I've had many messages before in my dreams, and they come and say, sometimes my mom has come and you know, to console me or something like that. A lot of times when she comes though, my grandma and my uncle has come to me before and stuff, is to deliver messages. Let me see. So like around about that time, because everything that was going on in my childhood as I got a little older and a little older, when I was in, I'd say, the beginning of high school, I started reading books on spirits and, yes, witchcraft, Wicca, and stuff like that. Educating myself about the spirit world and the paranormal. Educating myself with protection and protection measures and stuff like that. Ways that I can help maybe block things out and stuff like that that I don't want to hear or see, because I do hear things too. That's one thing I didn't say, and I'm sorry. I've heard many things too, like not just in my head, but actual, you know, people outright. I've heard stuff about people's spirits. But anyway, so I've did a lot of researching and everything, and stuff like that, and to get a better understanding and stuff of different things. So I have done so much research, and in my years is going on and seeing things and coming across things and stuff, I've learned many ways to deal with things and handle different things as well in the spirit world, paranormal, and how to deal with the good and the bad. So after a while, as I said, as getting older, you know, I studied all the time, looked into it all the time, did all kinds of different things with individuals and friends and stuff like that, pertaining to that over the years to get educated. So we'll kind of fast forward a little bit. I guess you would say from, I think I lived in the apartments in Tyrone, Pennsylvania, like in my like 1920. I think I moved there around 19 or 20 years old. I had her when I was 18, so I had her at the time when I first moved into the apartment. And then I had my son, my older son and stuff. And when I lived there, we used to have things. It first started off, oh my God, do you remember the guy I was telling y'all about? Let's hang up. Just a second ago, I broke up with him 2 days after Valentine's Day, by the way. That was him just calling. Isn't that ironically funny?
Yeah, that is pretty weird.
Ugh. Anyway, leave me alone, dude. Anyways, anyways, oh my God, I can't believe he had the audacity to call me. Anyways, let's get back to it, Pamela. Okay, so anyways, so it first started out with TVs turning on and off. I thought a light was off, ended up light being on. This is an apartment place. They had 3 floors. They had one building, and they had a crossway, outside crossway, and then they had another building. And every floor had... If you can't catch me on one, it'll catch me on the other. Anyway, so every floor had 4 apartments on it. And when I first moved in, I guess both. I lived on the 2nd floor. It was the 2nd floor, but it's the 1st floor that you walk into, because they had a bottom floor, 2nd floor, and a 3rd floor. So when you come in from the parking lot, it's actually, you walk into that floor. But I lived there anyways. So all that kind of stuff was going on inside the apartment and everything. And the radio would go on, the radio would go off. The TV would come on. All you see would be the, is it called white noise? You'd see like the static screen and stuff. Couldn't think of it for a minute. It had the static screen and everything, and you'd turn it off and stuff. And my mom experienced it as well as other people and everything. And I would say I've lived there for quite a long time too. And I would say probably maybe like a year into it, we had all those experiences. But about a year into it and stuff, I started seeing this silhouette guy at the end of my hallway. Okay, and he had like a white t-shirt on, jeans. I remember he had long dark hair, a white guy, long dark hair. And we used to see him all the time. And in my head, he told me his name was Herbert. So everybody referenced him as Herbert. I can't remember ever having a conversation with him. He just gave me the ambience of like, everything's okay. I'm not here to scare you. I do see you. Do you see me? And pretty much that was the extent of it. I mean, he was the one turning everything off and on. So, I think almost everybody that came in my apartment, there were a few that didn't, but mostly everyone that come into my apartment seen him sooner or later. And then I ended up moving into the apartment directly beside that apartment. It was a 2-bedroom, and then I had my son Chris, so I was able to get another apartment. It was a 3-bedroom, and so we moved everything. We moved over there, and I thought maybe I wouldn't see him or anything anymore. Nope, he came right over. I think because he was able to communicate with me, or I know that I seen him and stuff like that. And the same thing, he was at the, and he never went, it's so weird, he never went into the rooms, he never went into the living room or the kitchen. He's always in the hallway and at the end of the hallway, and he just stood there. And he'd just look at you. But at the time, her father and her father's cousin, we called him Mookie, they came. And they stayed with me for a little while and stuff, and Mookie stayed with me as well. I kept on trying to tell him, and we would joke around about it and stuff, that Herbert lives there, and we explain what he, that he just visits, he just turns things on and off sometimes. You might see him in the hallway, you might not, and Mookie's like, I don't believe in that stuff. I'm like, okay, So, I think they were staying there for maybe 4 months or something like that. And I hear yelling or screaming or something. I'm like, what the heck? And I come out and I see nothing there. The next thing you know, I get a call on the phone. Mookie is freaking out. He goes, I just saw that guy in the hallway. I just saw him. He's like yelling and stuff. I'm like, I am never coming back there again. I will never be back there. And he was barely ever back there again. And he went to my best friend Sherry's at the time. They ended up getting together, had kids together. But he ran. And I bet you it was at least 6 miles. He ran quick as heck. He got there really fast. He ran the entire way from my apartment to Sherry's house. Ran, he said, until, like, he got there. Like, he didn't stop. He didn't go slow. He goes, I ran. Excuse me. But it was many years later before he did come back, for a little bit here and there, and then that was pretty much it. He would never come in unless he was with somebody all the time, right there. So that kind of gives you the idea about that. And we obviously, after a while, we moved out and everything. And then, let me see, explain that. So, okay, so another thing we experienced, I had a really good friend. Her name was Joanne, and she lived pretty close to me in Pennsylvania. Maybe 10 miles, something like that, but she lived back in an area. I was kind of like more in the town area, and she lived like on the back roads. There was a lot of woods and stuff like that, and they always kept on saying they felt spirits there and stuff like that, and I felt spirits there too, but I never saw anything, never was able to hear anything. I know it was maybe a male species or something, but I never felt anything like real negative. I just how do you explain? You know how something, it's not really good? Anger. They have anger. They're upset about something, stuff like that. That's what I felt there. One night, very late at night, and we all kind of read into stuff. I taught them some things. We ran into somebody that was pretty knowledgeable like I was at that point in time as well. And we all talked about different things, looked over things, kind of learned about the spirit world and stuff, and they did as well. I personally feel their daughters were teenagers at the time. I don't know if they did it with Joanne, but I personally feel, and this is what I see, I personally feel that they were messing with Ouija books and stuff like that. So even though something kind of dormant, when you do stuff like that, you're given the open access to come through. And I'm pretty sure that's pretty much what they were doing. Even though they're kind of taught how to put a protection, even though they're not doing that stuff like that, they're kind of taught how to put a protection around them and stuff like that. I don't think they took it serious, so I feel like the feeling or what I see is when they were doing that, they weren't doing the proper protection around them. First of all, they should be doing it. Unless they're much, much older and have very good understanding how to protect yourself and what to allow and not. But I don't know, they didn't protect themselves or do anything like that. So I get a call very, very late at night, and Joanne saying, we see a black hooded shadow guy with piercing red eyes. And he just whipped right through the house and stuff to the other side. And I guess they had seen him a couple times. And she's like begging me to come out. She goes, can you come out and get rid of it? Can you come out and get rid of it? So I said, let me go out. Let me kind of feel it. And the one girl, I want to say her name was Kristen or something like that.
Christy, I think?
Yeah, Christy. She said whenever I got there that the night before she seen the shadow figure in her car in the back seat. And she pulled over screaming and huffing about because she's so scared to look back. But when she looked back, it wasn't there anymore. So anyways, I get there. I feel the spirit. I didn't see him anywhere, but I could feel that he was there. So I did a ritual and I did a cleansing of the home and everything, put a protection thing after and all around the house and everything, and they didn't have an issue after that. I also did something like that as well for a couple other people, but another individual that I remember right off the bat, and that's when I moved here. It was my friend, hopefully I can say her name. Her name was Kat, okay? And her son, I guess, kept on having an issue with a negative spirit, he said, and he wouldn't let him alone, and he gave him mad depression. And she was scared to death that he was going to commit suicide or something like that. So she asked the spirit, she goes, leave my son alone. If you need to harass somebody or talk to somebody, she goes, you come to me. You leave my son alone. Well, that was a big mistake because he did. He came to her and he followed her all around. From one place that she moved to another place that she moved. And we were talking stuff one night and everything when she moved in this apartment that was upstairs and stuff. She called me and stuff and she was telling me different things and, you know, what was going on. She goes, I know you're kind of into the paranormal and stuff like that. She goes, and I said, Kat, I said, I can get rid of him. I said, first thing, you should have never did what you did. I said, you should have had somebody come in and take care of it that knew what they were doing instead of pulling it onto yourself. And she said how she was depressed and she hated her life, nothing was going good, and just going on and on about it and stuff. And she said mostly what she's seen was a shadow figure throughout her apartment and stuff and everywhere else that she lived as well. So I go there and stuff and I can feel something negative. I honestly don't feel like it was, look, my hair is just all kinds of crazy today. I could feel there that it wasn't like a negative, harmful spirit. I do think it was an individual and it was a man. And I'm not usually good at knowing like when they lived a whole lot unless I see them or see them in my dreams or something where I can see kind of like do the period clothing thing. I want to say this boy probably passed away maybe in the 70s or 80s is what I'm thinking. A young man. He was probably, I want to say, in between the ages of 18 and 21 maybe. But he had a very bad, hard life, and he was really into drinking and drugs and stuff like that. And I feel that he committed suicide. I'm not sure. I want to say it was he committed suicide by running his car into something, but I'm not sure. But anyway, so I did a ritual and I did a cleansing of the house and I got rid of him and helped him move on. But that's another thing that that I had, you know, dealt with over the years. And then the next thing I would say is there's a road called Buckingham Road, okay, here in Florida. It's in Lehigh Acres, Florida. And on Buckingham Road, there's this very old house. And it honestly, and I think it was, because that's what I see, I honestly feel whether they moved it up on the property, up where it's at now, or they moved it from somewhere else and they moved it on the property where it's at now. But the house itself, not the land, the house itself is haunted. And you could feel it every time you go past that house and stuff. And I just, for many years going past it, I could feel it and, you know, and everything. And then, we never really got a chance to like go inside. I always wanted to, so maybe we could do like a paranormal investigation. We never really did. Ooh. Zena, really? That's my cat. Anyway, so, I don't know if you were with us. Were you with us?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
I was with you, Daniel was with you, and I think the girls might have been with you too.
Yeah, Cindy or Joy?
Like Alyssa and them.
Oh, okay. So we had stopped, and so we could kind of take a look in the inside and everything. At the time, there's no curtains up or anything. It's pretty much, there's hardly anything in there. There's a couple things in the inside, but not a whole lot.
Oh yeah, that was like, actually, it was just you, me, and Daniel, I think.
It was?
Yeah, maybe Willow.
Okay.
I
I want to say it's called Bird Road or something like that.
Yeah, it's called Bird Road.
Yeah, I think it's off of Buckingham and Bird Road.
Yeah.
Anyways, so you can always feel something there and everything. I could always feel like it was a childlike something. I wasn't sure at the time. One day when we were driving past it, in the top window, as we were going, see, when you're going this way, it's going towards Palm Beach. But when you're going this way, it's going toward Lee Boulevard and stuff, I believe. So I was going towards Lee Boulevard. In the upper window, I seen a little girl. She had blonde, kind of played, just like messed up hair a little bit, like from playing and stuff. It was kind of long. It was blonde. She had a cute little white or ivory dress. It was kind of together and pleated here and kind of went out just a tad bit down. Obviously I couldn't tell how like long it was. I want to say maybe the period of maybe 1800s, early 1900s maybe. But I seen her up in the window and she's just staring out the window. And we went past. I was like, oh my god, oh my god. And I was kind of afraid to go back and go back around again, but now I wish I would have seen if she was still there or whatever, or if I could communicate with her. A lot of times I try to close it off. But I didn't go back around, but I did see the little girl in the window. Okay, so one day, I had my sister and my nieces over, and a friend, I know it was one or two friends, I think Jerica and somebody else was there and stuff. And we're doing the Ouija board in my dining room and stuff. And in the middle of it, and I record, if I do a Ouija grouping, I record the entire thing. And unfortunately I don't have that phone anymore, but we had it.
Cindy was there too.
Yeah, Cindy was, they were all there. I recorded everything. I recorded everything. And in the middle, you can hear a woman coming over by the front door in my son's room, a scream. And she's something like this. I know it's not going to be perfect. And it was long. It was like, ah! I know I'm not the great, actress.
It was like something like, ah!
Yeah, for the long, and it longed out.
Like
longest time. Yeah.
It sounded kind of like it was coming from
me.
a garage, actually.
It was coming from Daniel's room area. I'm not saying it was in Daniel's room, but that's like the direction I heard it. And we got it on the recording as well. It was crazy. We had to hurry up and stop everything and rewind the thing to see if we had it on the recording. Oh my god. So that's another thing that happened. And so now we're kind of on that. And it reminds me of Daniel, my son. He's 20 years old. He is super, super empathic. He can literally see apparitions all the time. He's 20, he can still see them.
He's like got abilities. Empathic is like
psychic. He can feel things too though. But over the years he's seen many things. One of that house that we're talking about, he come to me a couple of times and was telling me that he kept on saying, Mom, he goes, there's a shadow guy in my room, keeps on going into my closet and coming out of my closet. So I had to actually, because he was kind of hard to get rid of, ironically enough, I had to actually do a couple cleansing before Daniel stopped coming to me and telling me. And I think Daniel was between 11 and 13 when we lived there. And I finally did get rid of him. He didn't come back and stuff. But Daniel can see things. He's got, like I told him the other day, I said, your issue is you can see things. You got this little white light bulb on the top of your head glowing, and they're attracted and they come to that. I said, you got to learn steps for yourself to help shut that off. And he's come to me other times too. Another recent one is the place that we live now. We lived here about a year. I was in bed and he was out in the back area. I have a nice little fire pit built and stuff. And he wanted so badly to go out there and stuff. And him and his girlfriend was out there, and she had left and went in the house. And he was back there stemming the fire and stuff. And he said a woman appeared right in front of him with long black hair, straggly, older woman, screaming, "Put the fire out! Put the fire out! You're gonna set the woods on fire!" Scared the bejesus out of him. He screamed and he ran inside here to get me and stuff. I went out there. I didn't see her. I could feel her lurking around in the woods and stuff. And I asked her, I said, "Is it okay for you to be here? But I would appreciate you leave my son alone. Do not come to him. Do not bother him. If you have an issue, come to me and we will take care of it." And I did ask also if she was able to. I wanted her to go to the light and stuff. I don't think he's seen her again after that, right?
I don't know. I know
he said he's seen a few things here in the house and stuff.
That she did see her outside when she was like trying to back up.
Yeah.
She thought she saw her in a rearview mirror or something like that.
Yeah. I think she's still on the property. Because when I go back there, sometimes I can feel someone back there, and I'm pretty sure that it's her. But I did ask her to leave my son alone, or please do not approach him anymore. I'm hoping we can find his footage too. Just a little bit after we had moved in and stuff here, I have cameras all around my house, and I have a back camera. And anytime anything moves back there, whether it be an animal, a person, individual, etc., my cameras automatically go off. It's censored. So one night, it went off in the middle of the night, and we looked at it later on, and it was the craziest thing. It was like a ball of light almost, and we seen it come clear across through the wooded area and land in my backyard, way back. Somewhere and stuff. And we went back there, looked around. We couldn't find any area or anything would be there. I had a friend that lives around in the area, and he said he's seen it too, but I don't know if he did. I think he's just talking crap, and he said it was an airplane. When does an airplane look like a ball of light coming through the sky very close? It's on camera. I have it.
Might not actually believe it, but it looked almost like literally like a UFO. Like,
it kind of did. It really did. But we couldn't find anything back there. Couldn't, like anywhere that'd be disturbed on the ground or in the woods or trees or anything. Couldn't find anything back there. And then I was so like in awe of it. I posted on my Facebook and stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, that looks like an UFO." I gotta say this is freaking hilarious. Okay, in the sky, mind you. My sister goes on there, and she's very big into the church and stuff. Is one thing I love about her. But she's like, maybe it was somebody riding their bicycle.
Motorbike.
Was it E.T.? E.T. phone home. In the sky riding motorcycle? Bicycle? Whatever she thought it was. That was hilarious. I got a good chuckle out of that one. But I think that's all I can think of for right now. I think that's quite a bit. I mean, I've had other experience over the years. Some of the things are just minimal, not worth talking about. And that's pretty much it. And all that I can think of, at least for the moment. I hand the tag over to you, Angel.
So if you like any stories like this, just like and subscribe and
people.
Comment in the comments down below. And until next time, keep up with the spooks, guys.
Chill.